New at 5, haunted by memories and crippled with fear. That's how a survivor describes being raped by a man posing as an Uber driver. Prosecutors say Gabriel Rendon Villasana pretended to be a driver only to attack those women. He was sentenced to life in prison today. The case started in 2015 when he was accused of picking up two women from bars in Buckhead, sexually assaulting them, then dropping them off in random places. He used an interpreter today in court for his sentencing hearing. Both of his victims delivered very emotional impact statements that helped seal his fate.
This kind of crime doesn't just impact one area of your life. For me, obviously, there's a physical impact, right? So a piece of my body was stolen from me, and that's not something that you'll ever be able to get back. This man tossed aside my basic rights as a human being. He took advantage of me, he overpowered me, and then proceeded to demean me with lies in a courtroom full of my friends and family. I'll never forget the feeling of pure terror I felt that morning when I came to in the back of that car. The feeling of shame and embarrassment I felt when I realized the situation I was in.
The victims also talked extensively about having to take preventative STD and AIDS medications after those attacks.